Did you know kindness is addictive? No? Well, in our house I can tell you it is. I'm married to a person who is addicted to being kind. Hello again. My name is Ian Currey and this is another episode of Thinking Out Loud. Come on, let me tell you what I think. Hello. By now I expect most of you know that we adopted our two boys. We're very proud of them, even when they do stupid stuff. I mean, they are boys, and boys are sort of allowed to be silly once in a while, aren't we? My favourite picture of them is one that was taken quite recently, and if you want the story behind that picture, and why I love it so much, you can read about it at iancurrey.com in the blog section there. Robert, our eldest son, has some special needs and has needed consistent care all of his life, and that helps him stay focused and on track in life. Hilary has done a remarkable job since the majority of the heavy lifting with that job has fallen to her, especially when I'm travelling. Even in exceptionally difficult times, Hilary has handled things with calm, kindness, and consistent plans. Sometimes those plans were saying things like, "Wait till your father gets home." But seriously, Hilary's kind nature has made that difficult path much smoother than it ever could have been otherwise. Rather than bragging on Hilary, though, I'm going to let you into a secret. Hilary is an addict. She's addicted to being kind. Often when I come home from work, I'll get the day's rundown, and Hilary will tell me all about her day. You know how that works. After raising the boys, the kindness and care nature needed another outlet, and Hilary has become addicted to being kind. I walked the dog and met my friend, the one who's been ill for so long. It was lovely to see her out and about. Or I made a few cards and sent one to Nora. And I'll say, well, who's Nora? You know who Nora is. She's the one I met in the old folks' home and has been so lonely. Oh, I'll say. I'm not sure where it started, but now there are a couple of card-making classes that meet regularly, either in the old folks' home or in someone else's home. And there are lots of card-making materials stored in boxes ready for the next visits. A kindly note means such a lot to people, but I'm not sure if the giver of the notes isn't enjoying things just as much as the recipients. We got a thank you from Julie. Julie, I'll ask. You know who Julie is. We sent her a little gift. Well, I do remember. It's just that there's so much of it sometimes it takes me a minute to catch up. Oh, and in case you see them, I made a meal for the people down the road. They've been so sick. Some evenings it makes me quite tired just trying to keep up with it all. Yes, I have a wonderful wife. Kindness is addictive though, isn't it? But there is another side to this. Sometimes we run into situations where the people that should be looking after the elderly, the widows, the orphans, and those on the fringes of society, are the very people telling us how those people need to get a job or should go back to where they came from, whatever it is. Jesus had sharp words for such people when he came across such nonsense. And it seems sometimes the very same things can be said to people who should know better all these years later. One memorable example of this is recorded by Matthew. Jesus was helping a blind man who also couldn't speak. Well, the story goes Jesus heals him. The crowd were amazed, but the Pharisees, the religious leaders of the day, the very people who should know better, say things like, "Meh, Probably a fake. Gets his power from evil spirits, I expect. He's not from around here, you know. Now Jesus hears them, and he loses it on them. You brood of snakes, how can evil men like you speak what is good and right? For whatever is in your heart determines what you say. Ooh, gave them what for, didn't he? The issue was as much to do with Jesus not fitting in and not doing things the way the religious leaders wanted him to as anything. The strange rules and blinkered ideas held by these people were willing to see the sick people remain untreated, foreigners scorned, and the helpless left uncared for, rather than reach out and include the diverse people and their needs right around them. How about treating people as people, perhaps in the same way that you treat your families and your friends, for example? This is nothing new, no, not at all. Way back in the Old Testament, all those years ago, in fact several thousand years ago, Moses records an interesting paragraph or two encouraging us to remember that the God we claim to love so much demands that we include those people into our thinking. Moses starts off by reminding us that God is God and he is fairly and squarely on the side of the rejected. For the Lord your God is the God of gods and is the Lord of lords. He is the great God, the mighty and awesome God, who shows no partiality and cannot be bribed. He ensures that the orphans and widows receive justice. He shows love to the foreigners living among you and gives them food and clothing. So you, too, must show love to foreigners, for you yourselves were once foreigners in the land of Egypt. I've had people tell me that this was something specific for that time and not for today. But that's just picking and choosing. Rather suits the strange excluding beliefs that some people hold even today, isn't it? The funny thing is that while some people spend so much time and energy fighting being kind and explaining why they shouldn't need to look after those people, they're missing out on something rather special. You see, God asking us to include the outcasts and deal with people fairly and with kindness isn't a rule that's hard to keep at all. In fact, once you give it a go, as far as trying it, reaching out to people you usually wouldn't meet, you start enjoying it. And you find, like Hillary, you get addicted to doing good stuff for people that need some kindness. Especially for followers of Jesus, the sentence, "So you, too, must show love to foreigners," actually isn't at all hard when you really are addicted to kindness and inclusion. Our Christmas tree is up. On it are all sorts of reminders from all over the world of wonderful people we've met in our travels. Almost every ornament or trinket has a story behind it. As we spend time sitting around the tree with a lovely mug of hot chocolate or something, we often gaze at the tree and wonder about some of the people it represents. So many things representing so many of the situations we've come across and the many people we've chosen to help in one way or another. There are lovely ornaments and very simple ones too that have been given by people that once, long ago, received a homemade card from Hillary or an encouraging note, perhaps a small gift or a meal at just the right time. As we come up to Christmas this year, I'm going to set you some homework. First, make a note of what James tells us. Pure and genuine religion, in the sight of God the Father, means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. then simply try it. Think of, let's say, 3 people you know could really use a hug, a meal, or perhaps a note. People you don't usually have any contact with at all, and make it happen over the Christmas holiday. Now, I'd love to hear your stories. It is homework after all. Leave a short note in the comments telling us some of the little things you've done for people. We'll all enjoy the gifts you give. Until next time, goodbye.